I'm Jerry Rice, Drake Gofield, and this is the Bay Area Sports Wrap.
Daniels, four-man rush this time, zips it in, caught by your guy, Zach Ertz, touchdown. 3rd and 10, four-man rush, it's Goff throwing over the middle, and it's picked off, Jeremy Chin. And Washington will be going to the NFC Championship for the first time in 33 years.
And welcome again to Bay Area Sports Wrap. I'm Ryan Leong, joined as always by Marco Ukalovic. On this episode, we'll discuss the NFL playoffs and the midseason struggles of the Warriors and Sharks, plus the newest inductees into the 2025 class of the Baseball Hall of Fame. First up, let's talk NFL playoffs as the Washington football team. I can't call them by the Commanders, by the way. They're just, anyway. A huge upset of the Detroit Lions as the Motor City once again has to see their team fail again to make it to the Super Bowl. Now, Marco, how much of this do you credit to Jaden Daniels and the Washington team that last year was 4-13 to this year 12-5 this season and playing in the NFC Championship game against the Eagles?
Yeah, you got to definitely throw Jaden Daniels in there as the key equation of the huge turnaround that they had when they were a laughingstock this year. Or last year, excuse me, and then this year they make the playoffs and have back-to-back upsets to make it to their first NFC Championship game since, 1991 was the last time they were there, something like that. So it's been a while, and but yeah, this kid has been phenomenal to watch. It's one of the reasons why I wanted the Raiders to trade up to try to get him, because I knew he was going to last, the first two picks, and so Washington, they got so lucky to acquire him. And he's definitely the face of this franchise now. And they've been needing a franchise quarterback for the longest time. And the fact that he's got them now into that NFC Championship game against the Philadelphia Eagles, wow. And he definitely deserves, NFL Rookie of the Year, NFL Offensive Player, Rookie Offensive Player of the Year, excuse me. Whatever awards there is for rookies, he deserves them all, really, because he really has led this team to its resurgence. And now they're going to be contending for that NFC East crown now, along with Philadelphia, for quite a while.
Yeah, how stupid are the Eagles? Not the Eagles. How stupid are the Giants to let a guy like Saquon Barkley become their running back? I mean, we knew how good he was with the Giants, but apparently, as I was reading on Wikipedia, that he got fed up with I guess basically, for lack of a better word, the Giants were jerking him around. He basically said, "I'm sick of this," and so he went and got a nice contract with the Eagles, and he's basically running away with the team all the way to the NFC Championship.
Yeah, talk about a huge blunder by the New York Football Giants to let this guy go, because they were in that crowd of war. We don't running backs aren't that important to us. We're not going to pay running backs, and they found out. Yeah, they should have paid the running back, excuse me.
Yeah,
because Barkley. Yeah, look, this guy had a chance to really break Eric Dickerson's record for the rushing record for most yards in a season, but they sat him in the final game because they want him to rest and get ready for the playoffs, which was a smart move by Sirianni and the coaching staff by making sure, he was ready to go. And look what he did. I mean, wow. That rushing that he performed, that performance he gave was just mesmerizing. All those long touchdowns that he scored, you're just like, wow, why would the Giants not want to pay this guy?
Bunch of idiots.
Wow, and talking about lucking out, Philadelphia, to me, they're the ones that are the biggest luck. They're the luckiest team in the NFL to have gotten him for the contract that they signed him for, and he's now he's really to propel them into the Super Bowl, because that's just how good he's been running for the Eagles all season long, and he's continuing here in the playoffs.
All right, so who's your pick for this game for Washington versus Philly?
See, this is tough because this is going to be their third meeting now with each other, and you had Philadelphia kind of blow a lead against them in the last game, the second game that they played, and you had Washington come back, and smart money says you take the Eagles on this one, right? Because they got the home field, but there's just something about these Washington Commanders. Sorry, I know I have to say it, even though they'll always be the Redskins to me.
Yeah, right.
I just, you can't count these guys out. And because, they got that Jaden Daniels factor, I don't know. I don't want to ever bet against Washington, let's put it that way. But I think it's going to come down to, really the last possession of this game. And, if it's Washington, then I think they're going to end up winning this game and going back to the Super Bowl for the first time since the 90s. So, but again, can they stop Barkley? That's going to be the key to this game. If they can stop him, they're going to have a great chance to win this game. If they can't, then it looks like Philadelphia is going to go back to the Super Bowl.
All right. Now, the other matchup features the Buffalo Bills against the Kansas City Swifties. Okay, they're actually the Chiefs. But I call them the Swifties because the NFL keeps riding on Taylor Swift's coattails.
Yes.
Now, Marco, I think the Bills are the better team, but they have to play in KC, and the refs are on the Chiefs' side. How can Buffalo overcome both those obstacles?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And again, the way Buffalo's been playing, again, they were my pick once this playoff started. So I think they were going to go, and I truly think they really are the only team that could beat Kansas City. And look, they're going to have to really just come out there and score right away. If they win the toss, they got to accept the ball. And basically the key for them, I know defensively they've given up a lot of points, in these last few games. And so to me, can they get pressure on Mahomes? And obviously, he's going to get away with this offensive line holding on key plays. Let's them extend plays and throw the ball to Travis Kelce, who for some sick reason that these teams keep leaving him wide open. I don't understand that. Leave the middle linebacker where he's supposed to stay, or bring up a safety if you have to, and let someone else beat you other than Travis Kelce. And teams have not taken that advice at all. But and maybe it's just my hatred for this Chiefs and the whole Patrick Mahomes the favoritism he's receiving from the officials.
Yeah.
But I really think the Buffalo Bills can go into the Arrowhead and beat this team and get back to the Super Bowl. And that's been, talking about teams that haven't been back to the Super Bowl in quite a long time. Buffalo's also one of them. And it'd be interesting if it ends up being Buffalo Redskins in this Super Bowl, because that was one of the matchups where they end up losing in that 4-year run where they went to the Super Bowl and lost all 4 times.
I wouldn't mind seeing that matchup because I actually own both those starter jackets.
Yeah, right. Exactly. For you, it's a win-win.
It's a win-win. I actually have the rare Washington jacket that has Redskins in the name mark on the back.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
so actually, I was gonna sell it to somebody, but this guy never got back to me. So I guess it's his loss.
His loss, man.
I'll keep it. What the heck? It's. I mean, obviously, it's a collector's item. So we'll see what happens there. But so are you picking Buffalo then to win, or how are you?
I'm going to pick Buffalo to win. I think they're going to get, again, this one is also going to come down to last possession. This is how the NFL wants it. There's not going to be a blowout in any of these games. And I think Buffalo, hopefully they'll get it. And then Josh Allen will drive him down there and either kick the game-winning field goal, or he'll just score, rushing in himself to beat Kansas City and pull off the upset.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because I imagine the weather's going to be just as bad as it was this past weekend, right? The temperatures probably aren't going to be more than maybe 15, 20 degrees.
Yeah, and their game is the late game, so yeah, it'll be probably in the low 20s, not late teens, high teens,
low 20s. Yeah,
and we'll see how that goes. But the weather could be a factor really in both games. Think about it. It was snowing in Philadelphia this past week, really bad, and I don't know if we're going to get that same forecast for this coming Sunday. But either way, it's going to be very cold in both those cities, and we'll see which team can outlast the elements and not turn the ball over. And again, turnovers, I know it's a cliche thing to say, but especially when it's the championship, the conference is on the line. The team who turns it over the least is going to end up really winning the game. So you look what happened to Detroit, and they were turning the ball over like crazy, and Washington took advantage of it and ended up scoring 45 points on them. And Detroit's back to being the Lions again. And even though they were the number 1 seed and had the 15 wins, they are out of the playoffs. So
yeah, no, it was. I mean, I guess you could say what's that word, Schadenfreude? If you're watching. When you get, you get some enjoyment out of watching someone else's misfortune.
Yeah.
And those poor fans, man, boy, the camera on the telecast really had it zoned in on those fans at Ford Field. They looked like their best friend had just died or something.
Yeah, pretty much. They were shell shocked.
Yeah, they were shell shocked.
And it was just like, wow, it was like the curse or whatever is cursing that team.
Yeah.
Came up upon him, and we're just ugly headed in there in Ford Field. And wow, I mean, I kind of feel for that fan base because they have not much to cheer and celebrate. I mean, really, with all those sports teams that have been pretty lousy over this last decade. So the fact that this is the first team that's actually had some success these last couple of years, and And then all the season was all for naught because they're not even making it to the championship game. So, well,
Yep.
they'll just go back to the drawing board, and Dan Campbell and all that. We'll
Yeah.
see what happens next year.
Yeah, let's see what kind of hangover they have. I keep talking about the Niners hangover. Let's see what kind of hangover the Lions are going to have next year.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
All right.
Jordan Walsh will dribble it out. All Boston. And the road teams win each game in this season series this year as the Celtics. They have only
All
dropped
right,
back
let's
to
move on over to the NBA now, and everybody's favorite basketball team, your Golden State Warriors, who are now 21-21 after just getting their asses handed to them against the Boston Celtics. And I was there to watch this game, Marco, on Martin Luther King Day, and boy, what an embarrassment. I mean, what do you say about this Warriors team? I mean, they started out 12-3, and now, as I mentioned, they're 21-21, and they get smoked by the Celtics. They were down by the C's, I think, as many as 45 points. They lose by 40. 125-85. Where do you see this team going at this point?
Not far at all. It's not. It's funny. Everyone in the West from I think was it 5th to 10th. They're all within 3-4 games of each other. But just the way the Warriors have been playing, I don't see them making that kind of a run where they can win 4 or 5 in a row and get back into the top 6. It's possible. When they get Kuminga back and when Draymond Green can finally be healthy. And I think it is possible that they could do that, but just the morale right now of that team, and it just almost seems like there's no answer for Steve Kerr in that lineup. You got Steph Curry, and that literally is just about it for them.
Yeah.
Andrew Wiggins has still been inconsistent. Yeah, he'll have a 20-point game in here and there, but when it's time for clutch time, he'll miss that 3-pointer, or he won't get the call when he drives in. And Buddy Hield again, he's just been forgotten. And Dennis Schroeder, bless his heart, he's trying, but again, it's tough when he has to be the main scorer when Curry goes out. And you saw what happened yesterday, Ryan. You were there. The first 6 minutes of the game, the Warriors are in it 16-15, and as soon as Curry goes to the bench, they just get destroyed. They get unraveled, and Boston just took advantage of that. Their size, their speed, everything. There's 3-point shooting. I think they made over 23 pointers last night. So, yeah, this was the worst home loss in 40 years, and they lose by 40 points. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's you could again look. The Boston are the defending champs, and the Warriors are so depleted right now that that's a loss. I think you had to expect. Now, maybe they weren't expecting a 40-point blowout, but I think everyone knew that Boston was going to win. So because of the Warriors' situation with their health, and I just think that if they can get healthy, okay. But until that point happens, there's nothing really to look forward to even watching this team right now, other than if you're just a Steph Curry fan.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, it's hard to watch that team right now, other than watching maybe the Warriors dance team when they take the court for their one and only performance during the actual game.
You always find a positive in everything, right? That's what I like about you.
Yeah. Well, I'm always recording it on our Bay Area Sports Wrap Instagram, that's for sure. So if you happen to follow us and you watch this, when I record certain live videos, I'll record that, and occasionally a halftime show. I know Will Tuckerman really enjoyed the fact that I recorded the Martin Luther King halftime show.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
He was thrilled by that. Yes. One guy that would always get talked about that he needs to be getting more playing time is Moses Moody. And I occasionally, well, actually more than occasionally, I've been becoming a frequent contributor on the Cyrus Satz's Golden Days podcast. And Moody is getting more minutes. He played 31 minutes and 47 seconds against the C's, but 5 of 13 shooting. He was 3 of 9 from distance, and then unfortunately, because they got blown out so badly, he was a -25 in the net rating. So I see him as a guy who finally is getting his opportunity, but he's basically like a big guard, I guess you would classify him at, right?
Yeah, he's not just really fit one exact position on the team. I mean, he could play small forward, he could play shooting guard. He's kind of what was it?
Swingman,
Swiss Army knife for the Warriors as far as what he can do. He can hit 3-pointers. He can play defense. And I like when he gets the minutes because he proves that he deserves to be in there. And I think he should be starting and not Buddy Hield. And so, again, a lot of this has to do with Steve Kerr. And like you mentioned last time, that he just loves his veterans and, doesn't want to give these younger guys a chance. And look how long it took him to be convinced with Jonathan Kuminga finally getting his time in. So, yeah, I agree with you. Moses Moody
Yeah,
deserves to be in that starting lineup and gives them a spark, especially if they're double teaming Curry, and and this is what the teams are going to be doing from now on going forward. Is like, you want to stop the Warriors, get the ball out of the hands of Curry, double team him, make him give up the ball because no one else is consistently a scorer that's going to be able to beat you.
Yeah, and then when you look at the game yesterday, I mean, I tweeted a couple of statistics, and I remember it was at one point where, I mean, even Curry couldn't make any shots. I mean, it was so bad that even he was like struggling mightily. Let's see if I can find that tweet real quick here. I think it was let me see what I say here. Hold on, I had it here somewhere.
And,
Oh, here
you
it
know,
is.
also
So
to
yeah,
defense,
Steph
I
at
was
one
gonna
point
say-
was 4 of 12 from 3-point range, and the rest of the team was 3 of 23, which is 13%.
Yeah, it was god awful because they're living and dying with their 3-pointer, and
Yeah.
and because they haven't been making them, they've been dying a
Ugh.
torturous death with it. And yeah, you know, Curry's got his thumb issue, so I know that's affecting him. He's never got to admit that, but it is.
Yep,
You can
yep.
see him rushing the shot more than when he has in the past, and so that's
Yep.
what's, you know, led to him, you know, having not being able to shoot good from beyond the arc. And then the rest of the team has just been god awful. Their free throw shooting's god awful, and you combine all that, and it's no wonder why they are 9-18 after starting 12-3. It's actually a miracle they're at 500 right now.
Wow, they're really not, is that the math, 9 and 18?
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's
you
no wonder they're so awful. Well,
It
they've
is.
been taking
And
some
again,
polls.
the
I
way
think
they've been playing, it really is that I think it's they should be counting their lucky stars that they're at 500 and not the rest of the Western Conference, with the exception of OKC, who's just running away with it. They're not that good. The whole conference isn't that great, so they're lucky that, you know, they're not stuck in the 9th, 10th, and have nowhere to go. They again, they can pull off some kind of 4 or 5 game win streak. They're right back up in there, right? But again, it's not going to happen until they get healthy. And you know, Draymond, again, I don't think he's going to be healthy all season. Right now, he's dealing with a calf, and who knows? Next time could be his back and or you know, a knee, or who knows? And you know, he's as the older that he's become, and because he's played such a physical, violent style out there, that's it's going to take a toll on a person's body. You know, trust me, I know I've gotten old. My knees are shot with arthritis because of all the basketball that I used to play and the softball and all that. And, you know, you get to the point where your body just starts breaking down. And I think we're seeing that now with Draymond Green, unfortunately, you know, despite, you know, his, you know, still playing top defense when he is healthy. But the key is that, is he going to be able to stay healthy? And right now I don't see that.
9 seconds to go. Listen to this crowd. The Nashville Predators have their biggest comeback in franchise history.
All right, let's move on to your favorite team, Marco. That would be your San Jose Sharks. Team Teal really taking one on the chin. They started out this road trip great after, what was it? They had quite a long losing streak with like I guess they had won 2 in a row, then lost 3 straight, and then they start this road trip where they go into Hockey Town and beat the Red Wings 6-3. And then following that, they go on a 4-game losing streak, and really ending the road trip on a tough one here. Is I think was it a 5-1 lead, and they ended up losing 7-5.
Yes, they had a 5-1 lead tonight against the Nashville Predators, a team that decided to stock themselves with a bunch of aging veterans who can still play the game really well, like Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault. But wow, to be up 5-1, you know, middle of that second period, and everything's going their way, and again, they just, like they did the night before in Boston, they got a lead and they just stopped skating. They stopped playing their game. They played not to lose. And I don't know if you can blame this on them just being young. And I mean, again, this team's half. They're half it's young and half it's got veterans on this team. You know, like Cal Groundland and Jake Wallman and Cody Ceci. These guys have been in there before. So for them to collectively just play, just not to lose, and then play almost like they're playing scared because they don't want to make a mistake, and then the other teams just pounce on them. That's what happened in Boston yesterday. They were up 3-2 going into the third period, and Boston just took over the third period. They didn't let the Sharks do anything as far as any kind of a forecheck. They didn't let them establish their game, and they ended up winning that game 6-3. I mean, really, you know, take away the 2 empty netters, they lost 4-3. But tonight, wow, this had to be the most depressing loss so far this season, and maybe we can count this as rock bottom now, because when you're up 5-1, and you blow that kind of a lead and lose 7-5 to a struggling team like the Predators. I mean, they have not had a good season so far, and they pulled their best goalie out after the first period when the Sharks were up 4-1 and Yari Saros, and that kind of, to me, I think changed the momentum right there, and that's something that Ryan Warsofsky did not do in the third period. They're up 5-3, and as soon as the first minute, Nashville scores to make it 5-4, and right there, you either pull your goalie, who I thought his confidence kind of got shot after they went up when Nashville cut it to a 5-3 lead at the end of the second period, and you just saw he was not confident at all. And those last two goals put him up 6-5 and tied at 5-5. Those were goals that should have been saved. The shots should have been saved, and he didn't. And it looked bad. And I don't understand why Mike got Georgiev. I'm sorry, but he was struggling with Colorado. And Mackenzie Blackwood was playing well. And if it's a situation where, okay, you're going to end up trading this guy at the deadline to get some future draft capital and let the young kid Askarov take over and finally take over at that point, well, then we should have just kept Mackenzie Blackwood.
Yeah.
And I don't think he lets in those soft goals in the third period like that. And I think maybe the Sharks do hang on to win because he has saved them a couple of times in the beginning of the year before he got dealt to Colorado. So, wow. And again, I blame this one on the coaching staff. You got to either do something to try to change the momentum if your players aren't doing it. Call a timeout if you have to. I don't care if there's 17, 18 minutes left in the third period. Do something. Make a goalie change. Nashville did, and look how that worked out for them. Justice Annunen, who I knew covering the Barracuda, he was a Colorado Eagles guy, Colorado Avalanche prospect that got traded to Nashville. He only allowed one more goal after that when he came in the second period, and he played outstanding those last 40 minutes. So you didn't get the same from Georgiev, and the rest of this team. I don't know. To have back-to-back losses where you've blown the leads at this point, it has to fall on the coaching staff, Ryan.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think as much as Ryan Warsofsky has changed the culture, I think overall though he's showing where he's a rookie coach. It's his first time coaching in the NHL. Is he one of the youngest coaches in the league, if not the youngest?
Yeah, I think he is the youngest one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he coaches like a guy who's kind of like he's going through the ones just like the rest of the team. So he's got to do something though, because I just think he's kind of losing he's not losing the dressing room obviously, but he definitely is kind of this team is struggling right now. They're really teetering on the edge of losing their confidence entirely. So the good news is this: they're going to play the same team 2 days. They're going to play the Predators at home at the Shark Tank.
Right. And I think he needs to get angry and yell and throw some things just to change it up. And sometimes when you get players playing with a little fear of not wanting to piss off the coach and being a doghouse, sometimes that works, and to where the team can come up. There needs to be some kind of meeting though after this one, because
maybe they should do this like in Bull Durham.
Happen tomorrow.
I was gonna say they should see like Bull Durham. The throw in, take one in the shower. Everyone in the shower. Give me a countdown. Get in the shower. Throw all the bats in there and say, "Stop lollygagging around."
I know. That's one of my favorite scenes in that movie. Bunch of lollygaggers.
God.
We'll see. Hopefully he can do something to turn this around. But yeah, you're right. 48 hours from now, they're playing Nashville, getting back at the tank, and they're going to come home for a homestand. And hopefully they can learn from this and try to put this past them. That's the only thing you can do at this point. There's 50 games in now, 32 left. And I know they're going to take a couple weeks break in February for that Four Nations tournament. But still, man, this one was rough. Rough to watch tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even watch all of it. I actually went for a walk and ran some errands. Next thing I know, I was looking at the game. It was like 5-1. Sharks got this. And I was like, 5-3. Next thing I know, 5-5. What the hell happened?
Yeah. I was speechless. I mean, I was shocked. Normally I'm yelling or something, but just watching that, I couldn't believe what I was watching. My eyes were shocked. My brain's still trying to process it. And just, wow, man, 5-1 and everything's going away. And then you stop playing your game and stop skating. And that's what happened to the Sharks tonight. And they got to learn from this, and you saw how, toward the end, how dejected Macklin Celebrini.
Oh, he looked really, I mean, not just pissed. He almost looked like, what the hell just happened? That's what he looked like.
Yeah, exactly. Saw him and Eklund sitting next to each other going, He had that look of what the hell just happened.
Yeah.
And, he scores his, I believe it was 15th goal, 14th goal tonight.
Yeah, and you saw I tweeted out the graphic from NBC California that he is now number one all time on the points list for a player for the Sharks 18 years of age.
Yeah.
Passing Marlowe, passing Jeff Friesen. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah. And again, 32 more games left for him to play. So
Yeah.
he's definitely going to shatter that and make it to where, that's probably would be a record that's going to be a Sharks in franchise history for a while. So again, right now, him not line with Eklund, they're there, the true bright spot on this team right now. And I know Eklund Granlund had a couple goals tonight, which to get him off the schneid, which it's good to see him score. But defensively, they gotta, be better. They just have to be. They can't allow teams to start controlling the game and controlling and having the ice tilt, in their favor, and where they're on their heels the whole time. So again, hopefully these things can be worked out. And I have not, it's going to be a long 32 games. And at that point, once the trading deadline comes and goes, and the guys like Nico Sturm and Granlund and those guys at Wallman are traded, then you got to bring up the Kuda kids and see what they can do. The Ethan Cardwells, the Muka Madulans, at that point, you got to see, because those guys are the future, right? The future is teal. So bring them up, see what they can do, because obviously this team isn't going to go to the playoffs, and you want to bring a little more excitement to the building.
Now we'll close out this episode talking about the Baseball Hall of Fame. They just voted in 3 new members of the upcoming class. Ichiro Suzuki, the 1 vote shy of 100%. CC Sabathia, the longtime Cleveland Indian and New York Yankee pitcher, is going into the Hall, and closer Billy Wagner, who I looked up his numbers. He had like 37 saves and a 1.43 ERA in his last year.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. So anyway, your thoughts on the upcoming class of 2025?
Well, definitely, we knew Ichiro was going to be a first ballot guy. In fact, I don't know how he doesn't get 100%. I like to know who was the dumbass who didn't vote for him right there.
Well, I'll say this real quick, Marcos. We have no love lost for certain writers in any sport, and obviously, whoever was the person who wanted to vote him in this case, thinking that somebody doesn't deserve 100%. I mean, look at Willie Mays, a guy like Willie Mays, even Babe Ruth. Or I don't know how the voting percentage was on Babe Ruth, but I know Willie Mays himself was around 80% because I guess his involvement with the Valley Casino at the time. But
right.
I mean, a lot of guys didn't ever get 100% until Mariano Rivera, and so Ichiro is the second guy to come this close to 100%.
Yeah, it's funny that ESPN had a article where they interviewed a bunch of his former teammates and opponents that went up against him, and there's a story from Mike Sweeney who when he was up at the Royals in 2001, he's the first time you ever met him was when Ichiro had a single and he's playing first base, and he's like, yeah, he goes, I don't know if this guy knows English or not. And he said, like, back in Japan, when someone would get a hit, when the Major League Baseball All-Stars would play the Japanese All-Stars, they would have these kaboom and pals like on the scoreboard and say, nice batting, right? So when Ichiro gets a first, he's like, well, I don't know what to say this guy. So he goes, he pat him on the shoulder and said, Ichiro, hey, nice batting. And Ichiro looks up at him and says, Mike Sweeney, nice ass.
Nice.
And he said from there, he's like, I know this guy was great. And that was the thing, everyone said that he was a jokester in the clubhouse. He made everyone laugh. And so to be that kind of a teammate, just goes to show you what he also deserved to be in this Hall of Fame, not for only his accolades, what he did again, was one of the best pure hitters in all of baseball. Did it in Japan, did it here in the United States in Major League Baseball. So he definitely deserves to be on there. CC Sabathia, Bay Area product. It's good to see him get in there. He had a great career as well throughout the time he pitched. And, Billy Wagner, a guy who probably not people didn't think about or don't think about, but he was a really good, consistent closer. So all 3 of them deserve to have gotten in. But as you mentioned earlier, I think it's a sham that these writers who've never played baseball in their life get to vote for who they think should be in the Hall of Fame, and that whole and this goes for every sport, not just baseball. No writer should be having a vote for this. Have a committee of ex Hall of Famers be the ones who vote in, because then you know it's a true Hall of Fame. Because again, when you have like Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens and Pete Rose not in the Hall of Fame, it's a total disgrace. It's just a sham, if you ask me.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, I think some writers should have a vote. A guy like John Shea, whom we've had on this podcast, is obviously qualified to be giving a vote, given a vote. A guy like Jeff Passan is obviously more than qualified. So I would say that writers should have a vote, but it should also include other people. It should be writers. It should be broadcasters. It should be players, coaches, scouts. You know, there should be a way to change the format. But I don't have a problem with writers getting votes. I would say that the majority of baseball writers do know the sport, but there are some that are just asshats, you know. So, but again, a guy like John Shea to me is the quintessential example of what makes baseball a good sport, because he truly does love the game of baseball, and it's very evident in how he covered the game. But unfortunately, there's only one John Shea, and most of the writers out there are not him.
Yeah, that's true. And then kudos to John, because yeah, you know, he's to me, you're right. He's earned it to have one. But in general, like I said, I don't think writers should have that vote. You know, unless you've been around for, as long as he's been covering the game and have that love for the game. And that to me, the problem is that these writers don't have that love for this game,
No.
and they just get off on having a vote, and then it turns into a popularity contest. Was that player cool with them when they played? And if not, oh, I'm not going to vote for him. And that's kind of how it is, and that's why I'm sour about it.
Yeah, or you could be a guy like my friend Dave Newhouse, who got so what's the word, disillusioned with the process. He gave up his vote, and I'll never forget, years ago when he did that, Damon Bruce got really pissed off, and he ripped Dave Newhouse for giving up his vote. But I understand where Dave is coming from. He's just tired of how the game of baseball has changed. And to give you another example, the great broadcaster many years ago, Tony Kubek, when baseball went on strike in 1994, he never came back. Wow. He was, I think, working for the Blue Jays, I think, at the time, after years being on the NBC broadcast.
Yeah.
Tony Kubek never came back to broadcasting. He has not broadcast a baseball game since the strike of 94.
That's too bad.
Well,
he was a good one. I remember, his broadcast, and he was a good announcer. So
great announcer. I mean, one of the best. I mean, he and Kurt Gowdy, and I mean, NBC, this is why baseball was at one time such a great sport, and now why it sucks, because I think a lot of people that are actually even doing the games, aside from a guy like Jason Benetti, who now calls the Tigers games, you don't see a lot of announcers out there that really love the sport of baseball either. But Jason Benetti's one of them. And baseball needs more of that. That's the problem here. That's why I got to be honest, I'm really happy for Ichiro. He more than deserves it. I'll never forget, I saw his first game at the Coliseum, where I think he had, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 hits in the game, and he gunned out Terrence Long at third base on the fly. He incurred a lot of racism from A's fans that were throwing quarters at him from right field. What a bunch of schmucks. But he always made him pay, man. Watching him was like watching the original Jose Altuve. Every time Ichiro had an at bat against the A's, he was getting hits against them.
Right. No, you're right.
Anyway, I think baseball, obviously, as we talked about before, Marco, really needs a renaissance. They got to figure out a way to get some kind of star power back into the game and get people interested in baseball again. And I will say this in closing. I did appreciate going up to Napa last weekend. Got a chance to do some interviews with Eric Miller and Matt Chapman. We'll put the audio up here on Bay Area Sports Rap's website for you. It was great to get to see those guys. They said they estimated they got about 6,000 fans to show up in Napa Oxbow Public Market, which is great, because Napa is kind of a sleepy area. Other than the wine country and Bottle Rock, they don't really get a lot of events. So for the Giants to have a fan fest come up there for the second time in 2 years, it really shows a lot of support for the community.
Yeah, definitely. And again, there's Giants fans not just, in the South Bay and the Peninsula and San Francisco. They got fans in the North Bay, even have fans in the East Bay too. So I think they were good to return it back to Napa. And you were there, you saw the good turnout that they had. And now this weekend they're going to be in San Jose, and I know you're going to be joining me for that. So I'm looking forward to, hopefully we get a chance to interview Willie Adames and Hayden Birdsong and a couple others. I know I don't know if Melvin's going to be there this time, but I think he's supposed to be there. So
I think he's on the dais. Yeah, he's supposed to be there too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll definitely enjoy being out there and giving you some coverage as Bay Area Sports Rap likes to do, and give you some of that. What we enjoy doing is talking to these players and also the reporters that we get to interact with every now and then.
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward. So definitely we'll see you this weekend and down there in San Pedro Square, and it'll be a good time for sure.
All right. Well, that'll do it for Bay Area Sports Rap. For Marco Kolovich, I'm Ryan Leong, and this has been Bay Area Sports Rap.
Okay. Hi, I'm Carrie Walsh Jennings for Bay Area Sports Wrap. Please give us a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.